Matt Gaetz, the guy under investigation for human child sex trafficking, has now offered the killer, Kyle Rittenhouse, a job so that your taxpayer dollars can not only pay a potential pedophile, but also a potential murderer, all in the same office. Here's the video.
He is not guilty. He deserves a not guilty verdict, and I sure hope he gets it, because you know what? Kyle Rittenhouse would probably make a pretty good congressional intern. We may reach out to him and see if he'd be interested in helping the country in addition.
Yep, you heard it right. Okay. Representative Matt Gaetz out of Florida, of course, said Wednesday that Kyle Rittenhouse, the teen on trial for killing 2 people at a Black Lives Matter protest last year in Wisconsin, might make a good congressional intern, and said his office may reach out to see if he wanted to help the country in, and I quote, additional ways. So according to the good congressman here, this killer was just helping out the country. You see how the narrative changes? A young Trayvon Martin who has Skittles and sweet tea, he's obviously a thug, right? I mean, what else is somebody going to assume if you're black and you're walking at night and you have the audacity to wear a hoodie, right? So we want to say that Kyle Rittenhouse is a child. Trayvon Martin, the victim, was an adult, according to their narrative. He is not guilty, according to Matt Gaetz. He deserves a not guilty verdict, and I sure hope he gets it. You know what? Kyle Rittenhouse will probably make a pretty good congressional intern, Gaetz told the right-wing network Newsmax. We may reach out to him and see if he'd be interested in helping the country in additional ways. Just a reminder, Rittenhouse, 18 years of age, on trial for fatally shooting 2 people, injuring a third during a protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin on August 25th, 2020, after Jacob Blake, a black man, was shot by a white Kenosha police officer. We all saw that video. Rittenhouse, who was 17 at the time, said he traveled from his home in Antioch to Kenosha. He comes from one state to the next to protect property from rioters. And by the way, just an important statutory note, it is against Wisconsin law to use deadly force to protect property, by the way. That's on the books, okay? He was armed with an AR-15 style rifle when he shot the 3 men at a demonstration. The jury began deliberations on Tuesday. The most serious charge against him is first-degree intentional homicide. Carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison. Gaetz obviously being no stranger to criminal investigations himself. The congressman is under investigation as part of a sex trafficking probe that led to the arrest and plea deal of his reported friend and wingman, Joel Greenberg, from Seminole County, Florida, who was the tax collector. And I can guarantee you this, his buddy Joel is singing like a bird. All right, Senator Turner, you know, 2 peas in a pod here?
Pretty much. I mean, white supremacy is a hell of a drug. Yeah. I mean, this congressman, even before the trial is done, he's innocent. He has declared that Kyle is innocent. He needs to get off. And by the way, I'm going to give him a job too. Definitely birds of a feather. And it's quite an insult. But these people, I mean, they're so brazen with it right now. If there's any positive to this, and I mean that in a very sarcastic way, is that the congressman has let us know very clearly where he stands. So we don't have to be surprised. We can't be surprised. I'm surprised that we are surprised about anything that will come out of this man's mouth. But it is definitely an insult to the family, to the process that's going on right now, to have a congressman even flirt with the fact that he can make this man an intern. No matter what happens in this trial, he should not be an intern in Congress.
Right. And you know, if someone like Maxine Waters would have said that about a black man on trial.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Oh, my God. She's tampering with the jury. Right.
It would.
She's a criminal.
And Doc, one other point, you know, black children, to a point you were making, they treating Kyle as if he is a little boy. Certainly he was 17 at the time, far from being a little boy, not quite all the way grown by our standards in this country, but far from being a little boy. But it made me think of not just Trayvon Martin, but also Tamir Rice, who was killed on a playground here in Cleveland, Ohio. And Loman, the officer who shot him, said he thought he was 20 years old. It's not just the Lomans of the world. A lot of white people, particularly in law enforcement, but a lot of white people see and label Black children older than what they really are. What does that say? Is that young Black children rarely get the opportunity to truly be children. They do not get the same benefits that white children usually get, whether it's higher suspension rates at school, whether it's just doing childish things. They're always held to a higher standard. And when that happens to them in childhood, it absolutely follows them to adulthood. So there is no way that a Trayvon, that a Tamir Rice, or any other younger Black child would have gotten the same benefit of the doubt that Kyle has gotten. And Kyle was actually carrying a weapon driven there by his mama. He should have never been there in the first place.
Very well said. And you pointed it out. Story. The real narrative of America is white people who commit crimes are always given a benefit that a Black person in the same situation would never receive. That is your implicit bias. That is your critical race theory in application. That is your systemic bias, all rolled into one dynamic.